A warm welcome to the Uxbridge FM History Show, and Ken Pearce is back with another talk. Here's Ken. Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, thank you very much.
Great
Yes.
stuff. And our first talk today, danger in the shoe shop.
Yes, indeed. Well, it must have been in the 1950s, I think, that I went into a shoe shop in Uxbridge High Street called Mulholland's to buy a pair of shoes. And having selected a likely pair and put them on, I was invited to check how they fitted using an X-ray machine called a pedoscope. I find it difficult to describe it. It was a sort of desk, probably about 4 feet high, um, and there was the front part was open so that you can put your foot in. On the top, you stood up against it, put your foot on a sort of platform, and then looked through the top of the machine in a kind of viewer. When it was switched on, you could actually see the bones of your feet and the outline of the shoe. So that was sufficient to tell you whether it was a good fit or not. And of course, that was the whole idea behind this machine. There were three positions for the customer herself or himself. You could look straight down and see this image on a screen, but two other people could look in as well at the same time. So it might be the shop assistant, for example, or even if it was a child, mother could look in and have a see at what was visible too. So actually, young children, I remember, found it quite amusing because they were told to wiggle their toes, and they could actually see their toes moving on this screen. You see, and of course, as I'm sure you've worked out, it was in fact an X-ray machine. These machines were first developed in America in the 1920s. But in this country, they were made by a firm at St Albans, and it was that firm that gave them the name Pedoscope. At the base was an X-ray unit in a lead cover, and of course the beam travelled through the foot, and the image of your foot appeared on a screen. And so it was hoped that a good fit of shoe could be achieved. By the time I had my dose of radiation, questions were being asked about the safety of these machines, and warnings began to appear in medical magazines about the possible danger to customers and, of course, particularly shop assistants who might get a dose time after time. Repeated exposure to X-rays might well be harmful. In 1957, the government ordered that warning signs should be placed on all the 3,000 pedoscopes in this country. This hastened the end of the machines, and they were gradually phased out. And by the end of the 1960s, they had disappeared. As far as I can tell, I suffered no after effects of my one experience. But of course, the threat was there, and that's why the machines were gradually withdrawn. There is, of course, more information about pedoscopes online these days, and they have one actually preserved in the Science Museum in London.
Oh, risky business getting your shoes fitted.
Well, it seemed a wonderful idea at the time, but of course, the risks were there.
Yes. Thanks, Ken.